Right. Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody. Welcome to this new Primo UI Q&A session. First, a couple of things to make this a bit more enjoyable for everybody. If you have a question, please ask them at this link. This will make it a lot easier for me to insert the links into this presentation. But we will also be following the live chat on YouTube and the Slack channel. So if you still if you are not on the Slack channel yet, I've posted some links into the YouTube live chat where you can register and join the Primo Dev channel. Our first item of today will be presented by Bernd Vallert from the University of Mannheim. And he will talk about how they implemented their new Primo UI, what the problems were, and how he solved them. So without further ado, I'm handing over the presentation to Bernd.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, good evening. Our experience with new Primo UI. Sorry. This is our view at the moment. It changed a little bit the last days, but I find some informations on different places. Perhaps the first one was the Ex Libris Knowledge Center. Then I find some videos on the hackathons, as well on GitHub, the Slack channel, and some Google Books. You see the links and you can join them later. So the first thing I start was the Primo Explorer development environment. It had a good installation and it is installed very quickly. There was already some experience with Grunt and Node.js on my side, so it's not really a problem. In the configuration file, I have to put in our proxy server. The only problem there was we didn't use before HTTPS, so I didn't think I have to use it now. And for this, it was a problem that I didn't really bring this right and the right way in. So for some days I have a little bit confusion, but after that it's working perfect. The gulp run view start a local server, but it also starts a gulp task custom CSS. This overrides the existing custom 1 CSS, combines all CSS file to a new custom 1 CSS, but it's only documented on the videos of Mr. Leotolda that they overwrite all the custom 1 CSS, the custom CSS. And in the documentation of ExLibris, they say it's only make your edits in custom 1 CSS. So if you didn't use Git or things like this, you get a little bit in confusion and in disaster. The good thing on this tool was it's really safe to test the things local and not everybody can see it, only you can see it. It's the fastest iteration. CSS and JavaScript files are automatically recreated and you have a quick browser reload. So it's really safe and nice to use it. It starts as well a gulp task custom.js. This overrides custom.js, combines all files to a new custom.js. There's as well a very important file, custom module.js. This is as well not really documented somewhere else. I see it only in the videos of Mr. Leotolda. And as well, the overwriting is not documented. there was a breaking change between Angular 1.5 and 1.6. This file should be now changed a little bit. I show it. I have problems with my computer in the morning, therefore I didn't put it inside the presentation. This part you have to edit as well. So it's a little bit changed inside this file, and I can document it later. But I didn't find this information. It's only on a discussion in the Slack channel. So it's sometimes a little bit tricky, and I thought I find this somewhere else on the Ex Libris page, but I didn't find this. So back to my the thing with sorry. Yep. Okay. The problem on me was how to determining data. I have there some questions. Which data is in which object? You see it only online. I'm not sure if there is constant between from one version to the next version. I didn't know, is there official documentation? I didn't find one, but perhaps there is somewhere and I didn't see it. And in each object it looks different. And in some situation as well, when I try to fix a problem that I have with the logo of our library and the university, I like to have the hover and the title in their special language. So I need to collect in which language the user is logged in. But then somebody gave me an error message because when the user is logged in the first time, the user is logged in on the first screen after login, there is no language information. So that's a little bit tricky. As example, I collect data for the language in a very deep tree, so it's a little bit difficult, and you need a really long while to find out if it's right. That's tricky for me sometimes. There exists as well Bookmarklet. This helps to determine where you collect your app components, where you have to bound this. In GitHub, there exist different versions, and I find on a discussion page on somewhere that there's an error inside, and I bring in this information on some different projects. So I think the most locations are now corrected. But for the first days, you see something in videos and it didn't work, so it confused you a little bit. One thing I have a problem until now with the debug modus of Angular. You read everywhere on the console, Angular reload with debug information. I do this. I have as well installed the Firefox add-on, Angular Scope, and then Angular bug. But I didn't see anything like in the videos, so I'm not sure if I do something wrong. It didn't work until now for me. It's unclear for me if it's the Firefox version or something else. So this information didn't help. Perhaps there's only a documentation thing I didn't really find, or something didn't work for me. But it perhaps as well might Firefox. That's as well possible. The next thing I find was the Gulp app CSS view. This creates a file with all color definitions. You can configure this with a JSON file. The problem is I didn't find really a documentation about which variable is used where. And you cannot use, I didn't find a way to use it in my own CSS files. Perhaps there is one, but I didn't find any information about this. Yeah, that was at the moment my informations about my problems. I have as well smaller other problems, but the most I fixed with discussions in Slack or something else. So I'm at the moment I'm fine. I have many questions, but I'm working on these problems. So okay, thanks.
Thank you, Bernd. Let's see if there are any questions for you. I don't see any questions on the Slack channel or in the YouTube chat. So let's continue with our next topic. The Q&A with Ex Libris. Good morning, Noel.
Hi, good morning.
Noel will try to answer all your questions that you have. If you still have a question that you haven't asked on the Slack channel or on the YouTube channel, then please do. As I said before, it's easier for me if you would ask your questions on this Google link. Then I can import them directly into the presentation. Okay, so our first question. How do I get the history and favorites icon into the drop-down box in a mobile view, in the mobile UI?
Okay. So first of all, I'm here with Miri Botzer from product and
Good morning, Miri.
from the development team.
Hey, good morning.
We'll try to answer as many questions as possible. How do I get history and favorites icons into the drop-down in the mobile UI? Okay, so for that, I will have probably to share my screen. Okay, so if we take a look at my development environment, at this example here, the mobile links example, you can see here that I tapped into the library card menu after directive and added a template, which I actually copied from the original location of the search history and favorites icons, just using one of our directives as the template. The controller is actually not really relevant here. And if I start my environment, the correct folder. Okay. And where am I? And refresh my environment. And then probably switch to mobile view and open the mobile overlay. I can see now, since I tapped into this element right after it, I can see both of the icons. The only thing left to do is add like a behavior that will close the dialog once I click them, which I didn't actually do yet. So I'm going to do it manually, and then you can see the icons appear here. In general, if you're missing this functionality in the mobile menu, then maybe a case would be appropriate as well, so we can add it after the box if we feel it's important as well.
Yeah. Could you post this code on the Slack channel? No.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And it goes to the Slack channel. In the general channel, I guess. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Maybe
So-
I'll share the actual files later, but for now that's.
So the next question would be, can I prevent searching on the role, etc. when clicking the auto creator in the details view? I don't know if this question is clear.
Actually, not really.
Well,
If the one that asked me can explain, it would be great.
I think they mean here is sometimes in the details screen you have, for example, Mozart, and then the later code of what Mozart did, being a composer, a writer, or whatever. And I think the question here is, would it be possible to only search on Mozart and not on Mozart composer, for example?
I think I understand. You're talking about the hyperlinks from the full record.
Yes.
So actually, it came from NERSC, and we are going to have it in November release. So you don't need to use any customization. You'll be able to do it in the normalization to have specific data for display and different data to be searched for.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Yep. The next question, how can I display my account link permanently? So if I'm not mistaken, now you have to click on the sign in button then the my account thing pops up. But I think the question here is how can they make this more solid? So how can they display this permanently?
Yeah, so what I did in this example here, I tapped into the top navbar links directive. And again, I just used I just copied the original icon from just used the developer tools, copied the HTML, pasted it here.
Mm-hmm.
I did change and added an href attribute to the functionality that we want to use, and remove the JavaScript click event.
Mm-hmm.
And in the CSS, I just hid the original library link. I assume that's the behavior we want to implement. And now we have the link here, and we don't have it in its original place. I think it's actually it even works, but probably need a different. I think it's okay. So that's another example that I can actually remove the. It's back as well. Move library. Okay.
All right.
And the next question.
Okay.
Can I configure the length or not? We looked at it. We assume what is meant is the one of those toast messages. This one, if I understood correctly.
I think so. I believe so. It's the top one, yeah.
Right now, it's not possible. But again, if you feel it's a case is in place, then we can.
Okay, then they should open a case.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So the next one. How can I display labels like general notes, dissertation notes, And I think that's the stuff that needs to go into the normalization rules, like in the old UI.
Well, this, if it doesn't work, then it's a bug that we need to fix out of the box, because we did try to make it work, so yeah, it should work.
Okay.
If it doesn't work, we need to know and fix it.
Okay, then the person needs to recheck this. I'll also check it, because I think we are also using it somewhere, but we're not live with the new UI yet, so not that important. So the next question, is it difficult to change the facets? I would like to split the library facets into libraries from my institution and other institutions.
It's difficult.
It's difficult.
It is. I think, as we can say, it is difficult. I would try to maybe, I didn't do it, but maybe add a watcher to the actual search results, and every time they change, just change the facet elements and create whatever facet elements you want, and then the display will just go. That's the approach I would take. It's not easy.
So you're saying that someone should watch the facets?
To the Angular watcher and watch the search results every time they change, and manipulate the actual object and split the facets to different groups. Then the UI will actually work on itself. So that's the cleanest approach with things.
Okay, I understand. I hope the person who asked the question also understands what to do.
If the question was, if the problem is something working in the classic UI and not supported in the new UI, because there are some sort options in the classic UI that I don't think are supported in the new UI, we need to know, and if that's something that's used, we can add it to the new UI out of the box. So again, if that's the issue, then we need to see that. Then we need a case and
open a case.
Yeah.
The next one, the PNX REST API only returns a limited set of fields in contrast to the REST API the new UI uses. So I'm guessing this is the other REST API that's used within the new UI. And the question is, will this change in the future? Will they be merged?
Yes, they will. Actually, in the first half of 2018, we are going to expose all the APIs that are used in the new UI. Obviously, I think the main one that is going to be for your benefit is really a better PNX REST API with all the available fields. And also, as part of it, this is something we are working also with Alma, and also Alma services are going to be available as part of those externalized APIs.
Meaning all the Alma services, or just a part
all
of
the
them?
Alma services.
So you could.
I don't want to say all. Okay, no. Now I'm terrified.
No, let me give.
Relevant to Primo, to the discovery part.
Okay. Sorry. So for example, searching in Alma through Primo, because this was also one of the questions on Slack, searching in Alma through Primo will not be possible yet.
So, yeah, we do plan to expose them.
Okay.
Future, but until then, we don't really.
Okay, it's planned for February. I won't recommend in the meantime, because we might change things. It won't be backward compatible until this point. And also it will come with documentation that will help you.
Okay, very nice. The next question, is there an easy way to determine if the user is logged in? Bernd already said in his presentation that he had to dive very deep to determine if a user is logged in. No, that was for the language, but I'm guessing the user is the same problem, or has the same problem.
Yes, actually, Shaul just sent me the file, so I'm trying to open it as we speak. Let's see. Okay, so let's give it a try. If I run the environment against EBCU. And let's try it. So let's look at the code because it seems to be working. So now we can show it. Generally, we already had like a session. I showed the usage of services. So in this case, we can define a service, the user service in this case. It can use other services that we developed internally. In this case, the JWT helper. The JWT is like a modern session which holds the information about the user and the basic information about the user. So if we implement the isGuest method, just take the JWT, decode it, and check if there's a username, then return true or false appropriately, and log it to the console. It will give us the functionality we need. Then we can just always use the user service whenever we need it in the application. This is code actually taken from the OTB code. So what we did here is like splitted the service, a separate service that's not in our code, and used it in a customization directive. You could have used the original service, like I think I showed it in the one of the hackathon, using the what's its name, the user session manager service. Methods there might change, but I think it's a solid assumption that some of the more general methods like decode the JWT or so on won't change.
Yes.
But since something might change, we always recommend using the code by copying it, making it your own code, knowing it won't change, and using it as your own service. But here we can see both a mix of both approaches. Defining your own service, but using one of our services as well. So it's a mixed approach in this case. Yep. So
and you don't need to do anything special to use your JWT helper service besides defining it, of course.
Yeah, that's a nice unintentional feature.
Okay.
You can just use features.
Will there be documentation
That's the thing.
that lists all services that you have that people can tap into?
That's the main motivation to make you copy your own and create your own services. That can be a future step of like creating a separate module with general services, and we will document them. We can't really do that for all of the services, but just we can do that in the future. I'm not sure yet what are the plans and when we will be able to do that, but that's and again, it's a good project for the community to do together with us, so we will want to push it forward at some time.
Okay, that's very nice.
So if I'm just going to I'm just going to copy the service into Slack. User information service. Okay, back to the presentation.
So the what does the VA stand for in Primo VA? That's the Primo which is integrated with Alma.
Well, actually, I had to go and check it because we just wanted to have a differentiator between the different, like we have different deployment type today. We have the Primo dedicated total care, and sometimes it's just a way to differentiate it for the documentation and when you open a case. So we like the way Primo VE sounds, but we actually found that it also has a nice meaning in Latino, and we decided that it's going to be the, and I'm not good, my Latin is not that good, so it's Visum et Expisco, which means view and discover, but it's, again, we just made it the differentiator, and we don't expect you to use the Latin phrase for it, so it's just Primo VE.
Well, I thought VE stand for virtual environment, but the Latin sounds a lot better.
I hope not virtual environment.
Yeah, okay. So the next question: how well is EE11 supported? Do you have stats on which browsers use the new Primo UI?
Well,
in other words, are there still a lot of EE11 browsers that use the new UI? Yeah,
it really depends on the actual institution. I know we have institutions that the kiosk machines run IE11, so the usage is pretty high. It really there's no like global answer here. It's supported well, but it has its own disadvantages, I guess. IE11, mainly around performance rendering.
And you're actively working on making this better?
Sorry, what?
Yeah, I mean, improving stuff for IE11 makes a huge difference to other browsers as well. So we always make an effort to make it work better on IE11. We can't really make it work as well as Firefox and other and Google Chrome, but we had we made a very large effort at the past 3 versions, and we continue to monitor it and make it and try to make it better. We had some fixes in August, and we planned some other fixes in November.
Okay.
And again, about the stats, they are really different. There are areas that the usage of the IE is really, really low. There are other areas, I think, mainly in Asia, you can see a higher percentage of usage for Internet Explorer.
Okay.
You can track it in the OBI to see how many users on your environment are using it. I think in general, it has nothing to do only with the new interface. We will keep improving it and make sure that it is working, but I hope no one from Microsoft is hearing me, but I guess it's just not as good as the other browsers, so it will always be slower.
Yes, and the worst part is, well, this is my side note, that for some unexplainable reason, Microsoft supports this until 2024 or something. So it's
oh, sounds good. Good news for us.
no, it's scary. Well, we have the same problem as you, so well, it doesn't matter. So the next question, which is a long one. We have separate views for Primo on a single Alma database. The views are working well with each site being restricted from viewing reciprocal collections. The only thing which isn't working well is sign-in. We want to be able to provide a separate sign-in page for each because we are running different authentication methods. Has anyone been able to do this?
Yeah, so I think it really depends. It depends if which authentication system is used. I'm gonna assume if we're talking about defining the authentication methods inside Primo with the new authentication configuration, then if each view has its own, let's say, LDAP authentication system, then you can configure the login, the internal. It is screens that are internal inside the new UI. You can do for each view a different CSS, so you can make it look differently. If it's using an external system, then it's not really relevant. I don't know, but if it's using PDS, then that's a question I will need to go look for an answer. But I'm not sure which of the options is the one.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, I'm pretty sure that's possible as well.
Well, it must be. I mean, I think we're doing it. Okay. So if the question wasn't clear, I don't know who asked it, can't remember it, but they can definitely write up a case or ask in the Slack channel. ExLibris is also following the Slack channel, as you've seen. So this was a question that I saw yesterday. What are recommended coding and style guides for the new UI?
First of all, we recommend using a style guide. We don't necessarily force you to use a specific one, but that's a good idea. We follow the John Papa's style guide with some adaptations, so it might look familiar if you looked at our code. So that's the one I'm going to share now on Slack if it opens. It really talks about separating services and directives, controllers and so on. So it's really well defined and widely used. So I'm going to just share it. So that's my recommendation, but any style guide is okay as long as you follow it. So.
Yeah. Okay. The next question, can we use the REST services from Primo New UI? So the ones with the Primo Explorer in it externally in our front-facing website. If so, from which Primo version are they supported? So I'm guessing this is related to the question a couple of slides before this one.
Yeah, exactly. So now it's planned for February, but it will be in the first half of 2018. I just want And of course, from this version, they're asking about the version.
Yeah, if it's February, then would it be too dangerous to say version February 2018?
This is the plan. As everything is the roadmap. It might push one release, but this is our plan. This is the main plan for February. It would be in the first half of 2018. I can commit on this. Probably it's going to be available in February.
So it's
we are going to, yeah.
Okay, let's hope it will make it into the February release.
Yeah. We are going to do all the effort to make it.
I know you are. We are looking to implement a book reservation system in our front-facing website. Is this possible via the new REST API, or must we develop services against Aleph? Is this related to the ILS services REST API?
Currently, the right way to do it is really working with the ILSs themselves, because we are having our ILS services API. It is not externalized, so but we might add it after as the next phase, after we will release the new UI and the Alma services one.
Oh, yeah.
But at least in the meantime, I would recommend to use the ILS APIs themselves.
Yes. That's how we also implemented it a long time ago. Next question, how can I add an extra drop-down with, for example, classification types to the advanced search?
We weren't sure actually if that's something that can't be done in the back office configuration.
It can or it cannot?
We're not sure.
But okay. maybe the meaning is to do a browse on.
No, the way I understand this is this is from the University of Klagenfurt. Sorry if I pronounce it incorrectly, and they currently have this drop-down box in advanced search where they can select a classification type, and they would like to have this in the new UI as well.
I think that the best, if it's not part of the out of the box option to add as a drop-down, then to use a local fields and then to add another row. If so I don't think it has nothing to do with the new UI, but maybe I'm missing something. And if this is the case, they can send us information.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I would create personally. I would just create a component and then inject it into the advanced search page. So then there is a drop-down box, and then if they select it, it will be added to what's the array name, row array or whatever entry.
Yes,
so it can be used with.
The challenge is, but then how will the search work after you click the search? So we thought either you hide the original search button and like add your own search button that somehow takes that drop down into account. So that's the part that we thought is it's better to avoid if that can be done.
Yes, I agree. Anyway, it needs some investigation.
Adding the drop down is of course is possible and probably not that difficult. We're not sure how making the search take that drop down into account. How can that be done?
Yeah, I understand. Well, something to think about. Okay, these were the questions we had from before the presentation started. So let's see if there are questions that you can, okay, there are a couple. So let me present this one. When I like to add more than one reaction to the same after position, how do I do this?
I'm sorry. Where are we? Okay,
yeah, these are questions which are not in the slides. So these are questions which have been asked now.
What was the question?
You can see it on the Hangouts page. So when I like to add more than one reaction to the same after position, how do I do this?
Where is it on the Hangout?
Here.
When I like to add more than one reaction to the same after position, how do I do that? Meaning if you want like two directives implemented after the logo, let's say. So
that's what I understand.
So basically just define two directives, let's say logo 1 and logo 2, just app component logo 1 and then define it, app component logo 2, define it, just after that define the PRM logo after, and in its template just write in HTML logo 1, close it, and then logo 2, close it, and then you have inside one placeholder you've implemented two placeholders. If you want the parent controller to be injected into the directive, do it in the same way. Just use the parent controller equals $controller, and it will be available in the logo 1 and logo 2 directives. So the same mechanism we used actually in our out-of-the-box code can be used over and over again by you, making if you have a organization with many developers, each and every one of them can define a directive and then aggregate them all to the PRM after directives and use them in the template. So that's I think that's the best approach.
Mm-hmm. I think this question was asked last session too, and maybe we should put an example out there that just does this.
Yes, that's a good idea. Yes.
So the next question is, I would like to add a breadcrumb trail to our PRM top bar in the format institution URL, library URL, Primo homepage. Is there an easy way to do this?
Is this an hard-coded links or something that need to be dynamic in any way?
I have no idea.
Well, I think if you tap into the PRM top navbar, as I'm going to share my screen again. It's really similar to the to this example. If I go into the top navbar links after component, I can add whatever I want in the template, and it seems in this case it's not even dynamic. It's just a couple of hard links, so it is, I think, an easy way.
I suppose they wanted it to be dynamic in a way that, for example, if you went into the My Account page, the breadcrumbs would change to, instead of Primo homepage, to be My Account or whatever. Favorites or
probably a mapping between the state.
Yeah, I suppose. Yes, I suppose you could either parse the URL in the browser to see what state you're in, if you're in favorites or My Account. I guess that would be the best way, but maybe there's different ways to do it. But I think I would do it that way.
Okay. So there is no service that can give you your position or your location?
It's an Angular service.
It's an Angular service. You could, I suppose you could inject the state service, which is third party we used called UI router. So you could inject the state service and then check what the current state is.
Okay.
So you could use that.
Okay. If the answer wasn't satisfying, please post a new question. So the person who posted it. All right. The next question. Any updates on the compatibility between new UI and iPhones and iPads? It's a broad question.
I'm not sure about the questions. I hope it is compatible. Every new feature in the last 2 releases, every new feature actually was supported in the same release. Because sometimes we are releasing new features first in bigger resolutions and then afterward release it in the mobiles. But in the last releases, it was always came together. So unless there are specific bugs, that's we will probably always have small bugs. It is compatible, so I'm not sure about this question.
We had a problem in private mode. In
maybe
iOS,
this is what I am meaning.
That's solved.
That's solved in May release. It was solved, so now it's working also in private mode.
Okay. So if the question was meant to be different, please ask a new question. So the next one, is it possible to add a placeholder in the advanced search input field?
Is it possible to add a placeholder in the advanced search input field?
Okay.
Probably with some not so risky DOM manipulation, it can be done, because I think it's an attribute on the input field, the placeholder. So there's no actually way to do it in CSS, but it can't be done. It can be done with DOM manipulation, so, and it's not really a risky one. It's just fetch the element and then add an attribute of placeholder and whatever text is needed. I think that's possible.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. I see one question, a follow-up question from Ulrich on the user service example you posted. He asks, aren't authentication methods defined at institution level in Primo? That's probably the discussion we had on PDS and so on.
So if the authentication method is based on institution, and then there's a couple of views, every view, a couple of views that use the same authentication method, then again, the customization, the view level. So yeah, Ulrich is right, but I'm not. Again, the customization can be done in the view level, so each view can have a different look and feel for its authentication. But that is correct.
Okay. I think that's our. Oh, there is one more. He presented to display a data in a table on Primo frontend for a record. One way is to include table in the PNX. Is there a better way or recommended way to do it?
To display data in a table on Primo frontend for a record.
I wasn't even aware that.
General about HTML.
Is it possible to put HTML in your PNX record? Isn't it? has sanitized?
Inside the well, Angular actually is quite is strict regarding adding HTML inside the data elements. So we did allow it in specific fields that we know are used to display HTML, not in each and every field. So we really need to know some more details exactly where in the PNX. I guess it's inside the display section, but exactly in which field, and we can check if that's available, or if not, if it can be added.
Is this documented somewhere?
The fields that were added, I need to verify. It was part of release notes, I think, we did it, I think, in February. We added those images for the source, I think. But I'll verify if it's already also updated beside the release notes somewhere.
Okay. All right. So the next question. Is it possible to move the resource type label that appears above items in the brief results so it sits underneath the resource icon?
Yes. Generally, yes. Either by CSS or by maybe a nicer approach would be to tap into the thumbnail directive and then add some HTML at the end. But by CSS you can position it differently as well. So yeah.
Okay.
Work on an example.
So the recommended way would be CSS or by a directive, or both are equal?
I think the directive is more clean. It's more like separated. CSS will be if it's easy. If it's, I don't know. In this case, I can go either way. Whatever your technical preferences are.
I think these are all the questions. Yeah, I don't see any questions anymore. Don't forget the Open Discovery Challenge. It ends on the 15th of August. Submit your tools or your code that you've written to ExLibris, and there are a couple of prizes you can win. Go and see on the website. The next Primo UI Q&A will be in August. There are two of them, one on the 7th and one on the 21st. I'm not sure which one is at what time, look in the Slack channel and on the mailing lists to see when these things will happen. And there are other show and tells coming up this afternoon with Joel Kortik. He will talk about Alma Analytics integration with Tableau Web Data Adapter. And on the 27th of July, so next week, Adrian Paul will talk about Lobit. And on the 10th of August, UNSW will talk about the integrating of ORCID identifiers in an institutional repository. If you want to talk about, or if you want to do show and tells, then please let us know, and we can schedule them. I have to thank Bernd for his presentation, and also Noam, Miri, and the whole team for answering the Q&A questions. I think it's a big help for everybody who's doing new Primo UI development. keep up the good work, I would say. I'm looking forward for the new APIs that are coming in February 2018. So thank you, and talk to you next time.
Thank you.